And we're live.
Welcome, everybody, to the Radio No Talkback for the election of Miss Rebecca's third grade class. This is a Play Underground event, which is brought to you by Joe Mock and the Real Pro team at Cutler Real Estate. So everybody watching right now, if you are drinking like all of us should because it's Friday, go ahead and raise your glass to Joe Mock as he would for you in the Underground bar. Hopefully we'll see you all in the Underground next year. Cheers. Tonight is the talkback for our show, Miss Rebecca's third grade class. And tonight we have the awesome cast and writer and director of the show. So let's just go through everybody. We have Alex Rouse as Lilith, Connor Moulton as Bryce/Tiger. We have Katie Groneman as Josephine, Zach Robinson, me as Tyler, Kristen Schisler as Miss Rebecca, Merritt Beischel as Nora and Larry's mom, and Andrew Bishop as Larry. Yay, people! And since we have Brandon here, and this is your show, you are the playwright and the director, could you give us a quick elevator pitch for the show and what inspired it?
So the elevator pitch would just be a high-stakes, dramatic election with all those powerful cliches that takes place in the third grade. So it's just two third graders running for class president. I was essentially inspired by, there was an election, I think, this year, and I wanted to write something political because I'm a huge politics nerd, but no one wants anything dramatic, especially with politics. It's just not fun for anyone right now. So I wanted to kind of challenge myself to tackle a subject that no one wanted to see and make it the dumbest comedy of all time. And that's sort of just what I went for, was try to get inspired by shows like Strangers with Candy and pretty much anything that was just willing to be silly and just be okay with it.
I think you met the goal of being the dumbest thing of all time. I think we did that. I think we all succeeded.
Yes.
So question number one, this piece was originally a part of last year's serials, which never got to be finished due to the Rona. And since then and now, what has changed, and are you excited to bring people the final episode of the show?
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited. The one thing that I was kind of fortunate for is when you write a comedy, you never really know what is going to be funny and what's not. And so for at least 3 episodes, I got to see kind of what made people laugh, what didn't work. So I at least had that. But with the final like 15 minutes of the show, I have not seen a real reaction to it besides the readings. So that's been super, super exciting. But the biggest change with everything from live to radio was I didn't realize how much physical comedy I write in a lot of scenes. Like I try to write like a bunch of dumb things that are supposed to be funny. Like if you ever watch like something like The Naked Gun, there's a lot of gags going on in the background. And that's kind of what I try to do here is very serious dialogue with, people essentially throwing pies in each other's faces in the background. And you can't really do that in an audio play unless someone's like, there's someone throwing a pie. So it was a lot of backtracking and rewriting bits to make them work. And it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be to get rid of 1,000 physical bits.
That's always the fun part, is finding out which ones work and which ones don't. So when Miss Rebecca, the way this play works is when Miss Rebecca is in the room, we hear the kids as they actually sound, but when she's not, we see the kids as they think they sound.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the hardest part about conveying specifically that convention in an audio format?
When I was first asked to turn this into an audio show, kind of going back to like, oh, I don't use that many physical bits, forgetting that the entire crux of the way this story works is a physical, you have to see it happen bit. That was the biggest thing, was we had to add in a lot more sound effects, anything that we could have, because in the live show we had lighting cues, people could just see the actors come on and go, got it. But here we added a lot more sound effects and a lot more dialogue where someone's specifically saying like, here comes Miss Rebecca, or Miss Rebecca walks in and being like, I am back now. So like we had to be very, very clear and precise. And even if those lines weren't the funniest, they were so important to make sure that everything looked correct and that people can understand what was happening.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So the other part of how this talkback and all talkbacks with the no work is we're going to hear a couple of different audio samples from the play to give you a taste for what it sounds like. And for those of you that have already listened to it, a little recap or refresher so you know what's coming up in the next group of questions. So for our first sample, we're going to hear Katie and Kristen as Josephine and Miss Rebecca. This is Josephine's opening speech and Miss Rebecca's first entrance, which also explains the switch from kids as they see themselves and kids as they are. So here is sample number 1. That's the fun part about doing these things live. So we're going to be playing sample 1 here in just a moment. Sometimes the Zoom will be a little strange. We can't hear everything right away. So that's the fun part about doing everything live, is sometimes Zoom doesn't want to be our friend. So we're going to queue up sample 1 one more time, and hopefully this will be the one where we hear it.
And you should vote for.
There it is. It's a really fun
But
sample.
I am not scared, and you shouldn't be either. As long as you put your trust in me and re-elect me as your president.
Sorry for leaving class, but your favorite teacher is back.
Miss Rebecca, I was doing a dramatic speech.
Oh, I am so sorry, Josephine. I didn't mean to interrupt. Continue with your speech.
And you should vote for me because I will do the best job and a good job and things won't be bad because I'm a good president. So vote for me.
So that is our sample number 1. We're going to hear from 5 samples in total tonight, and that was Josephine's speech to the class with Miss Rebecca coming in. So, Katie, you basically play 2 versions of one character, as does pretty much everyone in this show. But what was your process for finding those 2 different voices?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Josephine's the worst. But she has redeeming qualities towards the end. But so the going off of what Brandon said, the trick was on stage, there were like little kid mannerisms that we could put in that no grown adult would ever do. So it's like, oh, they're a child now. So that was a little hard. And it was difficult for me because I teach kids. And so 3rd grade, which is 8-9 years old, they don't sound like babies. They don't sound like little children, but it has to be kind of exaggerated for radio dramas. So, for her adult voice, it was my own voice, but add in a bit of like bullying to it. She's a bully. She's a straight up bully. And
An Aaron Sorkin bully.
Yeah. Yes. She's just very power hungry. And then for the little kid version of her, it's much more nasally, like I bring it to the front of my face, and much more high pitched, and just kind of add like a teacher's pet sort of air to it, where everything she says is to Miss Josephine in her kid voice is very what's the word? I can't think of a word. Where all she wants to do is like just please this teacher.
Yes.
And then the other thing is that was really helpful was kind of elongating words, like some little kids do, when they're upset.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be like, she's making fun of me, like we're like, just elongating vowels and sounds in general.
I really like that where you said she's trying to be the teacher's pet. I think that comes off in the performance really well. And speaking of the teacher, Kristen, you are the titular Miss Rebecca, but you also play another handful of characters, and for a grand total of 3, I believe. So which one of them was your favorite to play? And if it is just Miss Rebecca, I want to know why.
Yeah, I mean, Miss Rebecca's the easy answer. She's like the sweet teacher, kind of distracted teacher. So that was definitely fun. But I think probably Abby, mostly because I immediately go from Miss Rebecca to Abby in like no time. So to find that switch, but I go from like an adult being an adult to like an adult being a kid, being an adult kind of thing. And that was the most fun because I was an adult through the whole show and everybody had to be like adult kid, and I got to be a kid, but like still an adult. So, but yeah, Miss Rebecca is also great. They're all fun. The transition is probably the best part of that though.
Awesome. That is super fun. I think you really knock it out of the park as Miss Rebecca and as all the rest of the characters as well. And the next thing on my list is we're going to hear a second audio sample. Ooh boy. In this one, we are going to hear from Alex as Lilith and Connor as Bryce. I'm looking over there because Alex is in the room with me. We're just on 2 different cameras.
That's the bookcase. There's Zach.
In this moment, we're going to hear Lilith deciding to throw her hat into the 3rd grade election. So here is the audio for sample number 2.
I refuse to have her as our president again.
It's just for a year. Who cares?
But that's what you said last year, and the year before that, and the year before that. She keeps winning, Bryce.
She's likable, Lilith. Seems like someone you could grab a milk with, you know?
That is not a qualification. Policy is what matters.
Presentation is what matters.
Well, did you see my presentation on why Pluto is not a planet? It doesn't have enough gravity to sustain itself, you know.
All right, nerd.
Hey, nerds make things work. Without nerds, there would be no Chuck E. Cheese, no kazoos, no Toys R Us.
There is no Toys R Us?
Well, perhaps they should have had more nerdy accountants running things instead of just leaving lightsabers out for kids to smack the hell out of each other with.
Yes, let the hate flow through you.
I think that's the only time in the show that we actually get away with Alex saying hell. I just noticed that. She said a swear, and that's what kids can't say that. Lilith is in trouble, has to go to timeout.
Oh no.
Speaking of, you, Alex, are the protagonist of this show. I just want to know, what was the most exciting aspect of this show for you?
Sure. There were a lot of really exciting aspects of this show from different reasons. One of my favorite parts of playing Lilith is that I'm pretty sure that I just was Lilith when I was 9. Like, there's something so beautiful and like so familiar to me about the kid that's like, I'm gonna do this regardless of any information to the contrary that you give her. Like, just the drive of it makes me really happy. Also, this was sort of a script that made me fall in love with being on stage again, since I'm normally writing a lot and I'm normally behind the scenes. It was really, really lovely to be able to just play and get up there and be kids. But I think if I had to choose one thing, the thing that I love the most about it is that during, like Brendan said, I have a vague memory of an election happening sometime this year. But during that time, I feel like all of us wanted information but didn't want information, and wanted escape but didn't want escape. And it's so fun to do something that's like, this is political, but I feel like even jokes about our political climate currently, even when you're laughing, you're like, ha, ha, like, so, and this didn't feel like that, which was really, really cool. And I don't know, there was something also really fun. I feel like over the journey of the arc of the show, I kind of rediscovered why people would care about politics in a way, because it's like, oh yeah, like there is a lot of honest ambition, and you do learn how to share, and we do know what bullies look like, and all of this stuff, which is really awesome. I love this show very much. There are many things that excited me.
That's awesome. I'm glad that we could get you back into the audio stage.
In our sound booth.
Yes, in the sound booth that we made from home. It's no longer in the middle of our room.
Can we show people the sound booth?
Maybe at the end. It's hard to
Okay,
move
cool.
a camera when it's a
I'm
laptop.
very proud of Zach's work on the sound booth.
So in that last audio sample, we got to hear a pretty sick kazoo solo there. Connor, you played Lilith's best friend and campaign manager, and also a classically trained kazoo artist. How did you prepare for playing such an instrument of such caliber for this show?
It was a very in-depth process that involved a 28-week-long boot camp where I practiced 20 hours a day or so, slept for about 2 hours, and then about 2 hours of free time or so. But no, I got a kazoo the night before and listened to the voice and tried to sing along. It was not pleasant, and my family hated me, but it was really fun. So
I think it pays off in the show because there's a really amazing moment. I'm not going to spoil anything. Things happen, but Connor plays underneath somebody's very dramatic speech with a kazoo.
if you're into smooth kazoo jazz, album's coming out soon.
Yes.
I'm just going to say it. Connor is the Kenny G of kazoo.
His EP is dropping on Spotify just in time for the holidays.
He's actually also doing a remix with The Weeknd.
Actually, one quick thing.
Spoil that yet?
One quick thing was that kazoo bit was not in the live show. I had to rewrite all the kazoo stuff in there because originally there's a bit where he just holds up like a picture of Alex and it's just kind of like a dumb, gross looking face. He's like, it's your campaign poster and it's a cute moment. But instead I said, let's throw in this kazoo thing. And I had to keep adding in kazoo stuff. And I thought Connor was hysterical every time he went on a solo 10-minute jazz spree.
Thanks, bud.
Oh, man. If only every show could have multiple minutes of solo jazz kazoo sprees.
Please.
For our next sample, we're going into the next one. This is sample 3. We're going to hear the introduction of Larry. I don't want to say
Please
much more than that.
welcome the new student to our class. Where is that music coming from?
Oh, sorry, that is emergency cell phone. Hello, children of education. I am happy to be meeting you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am average American boy with average American name. Larry. Okay? Okay.
I think you can tell from everyone laughing. This is one of everybody's favorite parts of the show. Andrew, you had most likely the most different audio setup compared to the rest of the cast. You're actually wearing your mic right now. What was the hardest part about adapting your very boisterous character to a very sensitive mic?
Yeah, if anyone at home is not familiar with sound equipment and specifically microphones, you can do something called blowing out a mic, and that it's what happens when you produce such a high sound that the mic can't pick up. Essentially, it like has a cap on how loud it records things, and if you go above it, then everything just flatlines and all the noise gets mushed together. Not good for audio quality. So then the trick becomes, how do you yell on mic? In my case, I was recording in my closet. So how do I yell in my closet without blowing out my mic when I've got myself like completely sound insulated? And a lot of that was messing around with our recording. Audacity is the system that we used. So a lot of it was messing around with that and keeping an eye on it as I'm recording it. And also lots of takes, because we had the ability to do multiple takes. So yeah, a lot of back and forth. I stayed after for a couple of rehearsals to do those lines.
And because we do this all socially distanced, all radio know, we do it like this. We're on Zoom, but we're recording through a different sound software. So Andrew really put in a lot of tedious work of sending me an audio file, me listening to it and being like, you're almost there. You just got to bring it down just a little bit more.
I also wanted to throw that out too. Part of the hardest part, that makes sense. I think actually the hardest part, besides me just getting my recording right, is it comes to the sound mixing. So that's not even on my end. That goes over to the No, and I think Zach specifically.
Zach and Doug.
Zach and Doug. Shout out to Zach and Doug. Because making sure that everybody is level in the audio quality that we have is consistent, like that is really good. And you can check it, like that's where you can definitely like play around with some of these voices and make something that it rolls smooth when you listen to it. So yeah, a lot of it was just me sending bits to Zach and then Zach getting back to me and making sure that everything sounded kosher. And I think I'm happy with how it turned out, because it was super fun to reprise that role, and it sounded really good when I listened back to it.
Yeah, I agree. It was super fun to come back to this show. I think I'm speaking for everyone that we had a great time reproducing this show, even over Zoom. I don't know how many times, it was multiple times that we had to stop just because we were laughing too hard. I just want to open up the floor and hear what everyone else's favorite moments of the show were. And this can be free reign. So on
that kind of relates to, because I wanted to double check with Bishop to make sure that my memory was right. This is Bishop, a question for Bishop and Brandon. Brandon, our Vladimir Putin wasn't originally in your script, right? Didn't we, weren't we dicking around at cereals one day and then we're like, please let Andrew be a weird Russian kid? Is that my right memory?
Yeah, pretty much. I always had was kind of kicking around the idea of adding in new characters, of course, just to kind of keep it going and think of other political tropes to kind of play with. But Andrew flat out said to me, I think after the first serial episode, where he just said hey, you should have a Russian who tries to influence the election, and I want to do it. And I was like, I don't even have to write this show anymore.
I love you. I should throw out there, Brandon was very kind to bring me on board because I didn't actually ask to. I just came to his idea saying, you have to do this. And then later
we all rallied behind Bishop and then bullied Brandon.
yeah, and then I got called in. I didn't even know he was using it until what episode did I come on? 3. So I watched it for 2 weeks, just like enjoying it, having a great time because I was in a couple of other shows too. And I was so happy because Brandon's like, hey, by the way, do you want to come do this? I was like, yeah. And then something that was sadly lost, you can hear me talk about it, but you can't see it, is me getting to ride shirtless on the nerd stage on a hobby horse. That was a butterscotch. Beautiful mare.
Physical bits.
Physical
That's
bits.
one of the things that I miss. I mean, it's super fun to just be doing this show with everybody because we keep getting derailed and laughing and all this stuff. But I really miss, there was a bit where I get shot down earlier by Abby, and me and Connor are smoking candy cigarettes, but every time the teacher comes back in, we have to eat them. And it's so small, but it's so dear to me.
Let's hear from everyone else real quick. Katie, you still have your microphone unmuted. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't think, I was really glad we got to come back to the show and record it as a radio drama, and there was very little productivity the first day we rehearsed this over Zoom, like very little.
That's real.
We were all just like, oh my god, I forgot how ridiculous this show is, and like I love this show, and we were just also happy to see each other because it'd been like such a long time since we'd seen each other and B, done any sort of art/theater, and everything was just like newly funny to us, even though we'd performed it all before, and it was great. I remember leaving that first Zoom rehearsal thinking that my face hurt. I was like, I can't feel my face. But yeah, I mean, from like actual rehearsals, it felt kind of the same, like the first time we rehearsed this, and we were just like, Brandon, what the hell? And it just, it turned out to be genius, of course. And so then rereading it back when we had to do it again for Zoom and radio drama was quite similar. We were like, Brandon, but in such the best way, because it is such a phenomenal show, and we've all, I think, enjoyed it immensely. So
yeah,
great. Before we move on, the floor is still open if anyone wants to say anything. Going once.
I'll go ahead and say something. I don't like, because I know you were talking about like favorite moments too, and like with everybody laughing. I don't think that I could even say there's a favorite moment in the show. I think the whole show is just a favorite moment. Like, to piggyback off what Katie just said, it's just so like warm and heartfelt and hilarious and ridiculous, and like that's what we all needed right now. I at least speak for myself that like it just changed how everything this year was going, and it's just that kind of show. And like every time I've heard it, every time I listen to everybody deliver their lines, I laugh just as much as I did the first time. Like it's so cute and fun, and 2020 needed that, guys.
Hard agree.
Awesome. I totally agree. That's the reason why I picked this show initially. Wanted to have something fun, especially going into election season. So we're going to hear a sample of the meanest character of the show, a 6th grader named Nora. Merritt, you play her, and she is the bully older sister of Bryce. They're asking for her to help in their campaign and make her, and she's in this clip going to explain her credentials. So here is sample number 4.
We have to attack others?
Duh. In the 4th grade, we smeared the president's campaign manager, Candace Boyd, by calling her a crybaby. 5th grade, attacked the secretary, Lionel Austin, by saying he wears diapers to bed. This year, went after the German class ambassador, first and last name, with a vicious barrage of your mother jokes.
And then the thing that I accidentally cut off is it's actually your mooter. Great joke. Merritt,
Shane.
yes, I have I have done you a dishonor because that's such a great line delivery by you.
It's okay.
You were brought in pretty last minute to play this part. What was it like to adapt so quickly, and what led you to play Nora the way you did?
Well, it was a pleasure and an honor to be asked. And the timing worked out. So I was super happy that I could be of assistance. And by the way, I hope that Anna is feeling much better. Anna is the one who originated the role of Nora when the show was done at the No in serials. In terms of Nora, yeah, I know Katie said that her character was the worst. I really think Nora tops her because she's that evil middle school age creature who is just full of bile. And that's why she's brought in. So I wanted her to sound irritating. I wanted her voice to be a bit unpleasant because she's unpleasant. And then I started thinking about this sort of stereotypical mean girls and snobby girls and that kind of character. And I also, when I was going over the lines out loud at home, I felt like I was flaring my nostrils a lot. And that doesn't work on radio. But what does work is a bit of a nasally sound. So I was trying to do a little nasal action to make her more irritating.
Definitely. That sells it so completely. The nasal really just hits it home that she is definitely the bully of the show. Thank you, Merritt. So now we're going to go on to our final sample of the night. I know, audience, you want to hear more. You can hear more for only $5. You can either play it as a monthly subscription or on an individual basis when you see a show that you like. You can go to notheater.com/merchandise to visit our entire catalog of shows. And you can download this one right now.
For $5, you can sponsor a Brandon.
And the rest of the actors. Help all of us eat. So we are on to our final sample of the night, and it's time to hear from me, my character, Tyler. He is Josie's campaign assistant, but gets fired when the new kid, Larry, comes along. So here they both are in a scene where Josephine is trying to get Tyler back. So here is sample number 5.
I want you back.
Sacre bleu! You think that I'm an idiot?
That's not true.
Oh, really?
You have a crayon in your nose.
I like the way that macaroni orange smells.
Of course.
And you fired me!
A mistake was made.
Do you even know what that's like? To be tossed aside so carelessly like a broken crayon?
You mean like the one that is not in your nose?
I just really wanted to get to that line by Andrew.
Who asks you questions since you're hosting?
Oh, if you all don't mind,
Yeah.
I would like to ask Zach a
Could you
question.
please?
Here, let me give you the asking questions hat.
Yes. I have a
Thank you.
question afterward.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So one thing I kind of want to throw out to everyone who to kind of get behind the scenes, Zach, you did a lot for this show. Besides just being in it, you stage managed it. You did the initial edit for it, and now you're of course doing this Q&A. But not just that, you also improvised a lot of really wonderful lines. And I'm just curious, what was your favorite line to improvise? What was your favorite moment to just kind of go wild? Because I have a voicemail on my phone of you just improvising lines to me, not even in rehearsal. You just called me one day and just started improvising lines.
Which is, it's always great to work with you because we have the same brain. So I know that whatever I'm going to say, it's going to sound like you wrote it because we are just same. And so pretty much every rehearsal, not only for this one, but like the initial serials one, I would change Brandon's words and not tell anyone until it was happening. And that's normally why we would have to stop for laughing. Bishop did the same. Pretty much everyone, whenever we had a funny line, and that's just what's really great about working with Brandon, is super open to collaboration. But I think my favorite one is just the very, very first one of, I'm going to draw my new dad, and all of the things that came before we finalized on, he says when I'm older, I can have a beer. And I think the one you really didn't let me say was something about my new dad letting me try like a drug of some kind for a third grader. It was a good time.
Yeah, I mean, just your whole new dad stuff really opened a lot of doors because you very quickly found the key of kids who just sort of say whatever and don't realize what they're saying is wrong or inappropriate, which I think also helped Kristen give you more like, okay, let's calm down, Tyler.
I think of the line that is, what is it? It's talking about going to the Fish concert.
Oh my God, the Rusted Root concert.
Oh, I don't want to
Rusted Root
spoil that
concert.
one for anyone who listens.
Yeah, we won't spoil it, but there's something involving the band Rusted Root that you need to
Basically, anytime Zach improvs, we have to try so hard not to break character.
Oh, it's so bad.
That's
It was
why
so
I just
difficult.
was exasperated. Like, that was my only, it like stopped being acting at one point. I had to push through it because I would just start laughing. And like, I guess if I was really a teacher and a kid said that to me, I probably would have laughed.
I feel like if a kid actually said something like that to me, A, I'd be concerned. B, I'd be really trying hard not to laugh.
But it was really cool because I feel like the more Zach improvised, kind of like the deeper you and like both of your relationships got. I'm pointing at the screen like you can see me, but like you and Kristen, I feel like it really evolved into something like really beautiful and cute because you could really feel the like, I love this kid so much, I'm gonna hit this kid in the face. Like,
Yeah, it was like a caring annoyance.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Isn't that the best kind of teacher?
The line that you have, Kristen, that's like, what did I tell you? And it's like, don't tell me any more about your family, my family life. Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
I'll just say my really favorite one for the audio version is I like the way that macaroni orange smells because for some reason Connor couldn't. He's doing it right now. It's his favorite improvisation. It's really small, but each time I would do it, he'd fall out of the Zoom box.
You broke me in the middle of the audio recording so bad. I could not deal. Yeah.
And that's why that one's my favorite because it's very small and it destroys him.
There were so many like Zach and his new dad went through a lot of ups and downs.
Oh, they did.
But there were so many times where even when we were doing it on stage and you would just sometimes change the line. There were so many times when I was like, somebody needs to call CPS. Like this is
that family needs to be on Jerry Springer.
Okay.
Right,
like
this family's
legitimately.
Well, I
It
love
got
the
even more
ending.
dysfunctional in the live, like in the real, what could have ended the show. Like,
Yes, we're not going to talk about it because that would not be correct for this, for the internet. But there was
the original ending
not that. I meant
to
with
the
the
show.
father.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The original
Right.
ending to the show is my and we can talk about it because it's not the current ending. It's just that my new dad ends up being Kristen's Miss Rebecca's now fiance.
Or Huddy Steve.
Yeah, I do really love
Now
the
they're
fact
stuck
that
together forever.
forever. I do
New
really-
mom.
New mom.
Oh no.
So we're in that part of the night where we're gonna wind it down a little. I'm gonna open up the floor to everybody with some questions, and these are the pandemic questions. So how was the process of making art during this time? Was it a welcome distraction, or did it make things kind of difficult?
I'll start.
Yes.
It was a very welcome distraction. And I think a lot of us were trying on our own to kind of figure out how we make art without a community, which was really tough. And so it was, I remember coming away from that first Zoom rehearsal, like feeling the happiest I'd felt in a long time. And then the downside of that was, when it ended, it was like, oh, I like life could be great again, and now it's just a suck hole. But so it was great. It was a welcome distraction. I feel like all of our souls really needed it, and then once it was gone, it was just a really glaring reminder of how much we all kind of thrive on art and how much everybody needs it in their lives. And so it was definitely a plus. And I think it was also just another symbol of, how much we were missing.
I think that was really well said, Katie.
Yeah, that just about sums it all up.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
No, of course, because I also think
Well
personally
spoken.
for me, like, we're all friends too, and a lot of the time art not only is like a thing that fills our souls in general, but like being around each other is just really great. So even with the complexities of like, I don't know how Audacity works, or I don't know how this, like, am I on Zach's mic or am I on my computer light and like whatever. It was really lovely. It was a really lovely and welcome distraction to have that be something we were all figuring out together. Like, wow, like we're all improvising random shit and like trying to annoy Brandon, and like it was just like a really filling and lovely part of it was to be like, oh yeah, no, the rest of the world does exist and my friends are still out there. Like,
It was fun to experience it in a low pressure environment as opposed to, because you see this in like the entire arts industry right now, right? Everybody's learning how to use technology and adapt to the pandemic. So getting that on a microcosm that is way less stressful is way nicer than having to deal with a lot more pressure.
So I think that Andrew leads into a really I think poignant question. What was the biggest hurdle for everyone working virtually?
Learning Audacity, which Zach was a godsend, and like saved multiple of my recordings that I'm totally messed up because I didn't know what I was doing. So it's kind of strange learning a completely new technology and then having to figure it all out and make sure it's perfect in 2 days. So that was a struggle for real, but it's fun. I got a new skill now and I got to hang out with my friends. So
And you did a great job. You had it.
Thanks.
You had it.
could I show the world the sound booth? I can do it pretty.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the thing that was the biggest thing for us is that we live in an apartment with very big windows and up like right down the street from the fire department. So quality sound control. So Zach actually built, we're gonna go on an adventure. Here's all my Christmas things. All right. So this is our sound booth, which is a bunch of PVC pipe. And I'm gonna get into it.
I don't know if it'll be bright enough, baby. Oh,
So
kind of.
there's sheets, and there is soundproofing, and there's a bar stool in here. And this was actually a major godsend, but it was funny because there were a lot of times that Zach and I were doing audio in the same scene and having to like duck underneath or just like entwine and try not to hit the mic. And that was a hilarious adventure. I'm glad that we love
Sharing
each
a
other.
small sound booth as two people is very hard.
It's a good thing that we love each other.
Yes.
Yeah, having fun recording in my closet. For anyone here, I'll take an adventure, hopefully too. I can just like turn
Let's
over
have
here.
adventures.
There's my closet back there. So I just stuffed that thing full of this chair I'm sitting in and a bunch of blankets, and I turned off the air conditioning, and then because I'm a big strong man, I flipped my mattress to sound block the door because that one didn't have a door. Yeah, man, learning technology was that was a moment. Setting up the environment and then learning the tech itself was that was an adventure.
That's also really funny, Bishop, because that makes me think of like somebody coming downstairs and be like, oh, Andrew, we're ready for dinner. What? Like just like you're inside.
What happened? It's just like me in a it's just like me in a sleeveless t-shirt, sweating, yelling in a Russian accent.
Well, you're barricaded.
Yeah, it's like, don't come in here. I'm busy.
I'm making art.
It's also great practice for making pillow forts. That just said. It was
true.
fun to get in a
Very
pillow
true.
fort again.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I know for a lot of you, this was your very first like DIY project at home in the pandemic. So I want to know like who felt like they really learned a skill that they can use in the future.
I definitely feel that way.
I think pretty much all of us learned Audacity, and in terms of, I've used Audacity before for recordings, but I hadn't had use of it in the context of making sure that I was adjusting my sound levels properly and just getting rid of all the background noise, because I love this headset, but it's not like the most high quality headset. It doesn't have any really noise canceling features. So I had to I think a lot of us had to deal with that background noise. But I should also throw out there personal prop. Hey, back in college, I learned, what was it? How to do virtual project, or like how to do speech on Zoom calls and stuff like that via a communications course. So I'm over here already. That's right, virtual interviews. I'm over here in the 21st century. I'm prepared. I was ready for this. I was bored ready for this. If anybody else wants to brag, I'm gonna like leave the floor open for you.
This is your chance to brag or tell us anything. Because if not, we're going to call it a night.
Yeah.
I think Zach needs more props for helping us, those of us who are new to all of this. I know I had trouble removing exterior sound, and so I had to re-record stuff, and Zach patiently listened to various takes to find the best one. And it's very much appreciated, because this, like we said, is all new, and I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, you did it great.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Zach.
Honestly, Zach, if you want a side hustle, teach people how to use Audible, man.
Yeah, dude.
True.
You're great at it. So
we could make you like a tutor, and you could charge by the hour
Yeah.
to help people out with their interviews and their recording projects.
Anybody watching this right now, just Venmo Zach $5. Please.
Cryptically, from an anonymous account.
Yes, just please.
Or instead of
hire
Venmoing me $5, you can spend $5 to download this show.
To sponsor
There's
all
the
of
plug.
us.
Great segue.
It's not even $5 per day, just one $5.
And you can also, if you want, pay $5 a month to get a subscription to Radio Know and get the new show right when it comes out. So I think that means we're at the end. I want to thank you all so much for being here with us. Alex, Katie, Connor, Kristen, Merritt, Andrew, and Brandon, thank you all for joining us. I would also like to thank Kayla Williams for our graphic design for all of this, Doug Borntrager for the sound design, our resident stage manager, Megan Winter, the rest of the Know admin team, Liz, Tammy, and Andrew, and a big thank you to Henry Bateman, our technical director, for running all of the tech things behind the scenes this evening.
Yeah.
He's so talented and so cute.
Finally, I would like to thank the Real Pro team and Joe Mock of Cutler Real Estate for sponsoring all Play Undergrounds this season. And like we always do, raise your drink one last time to say goodbye to Joe. Thank you so much, Joe.
Joe Mock, if you're watching, I miss you so much.
I miss you too, Joe. Thank you.
I miss you, Papa French.
And that is it for this evening. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Night, friends.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.